Assalamualaikum everybody. Welcome to the Perdaus' monthly date tonight. So right now we are at the 8:30 p.m. starting of the program proper. So I'll be passing over to Ustazah Fathiah soon. But before that, a bit about her. So Ustazah Fathiah came from Madrasah Wak Tanjung Al-Islamiyah. She graduated sometime in 2005. And afterwards, she went to Al-Azhar University and she graduated from Al-Azhar in 2013. As a professional, in her professional life, Ustazah Fathiah is also a calligrapher, an Arabic or Islamic calligrapher in Singapore. She is a lead calligrapher in Fathiah Calligraphy and Islamic Art, her own company and collective. She has trained under various calligraphy masters in the Middle East, and not just doing Islamic art, but she also has brought on the love and spread the knowledge of and appreciation of Arabic calligraphy to the public through Singapore National Museum, Asian Civilisations Museum, and also the International Jameel Prize Exhibition, and many, many more. So I think cannot fit right the paragraph, so I just chose these three institutions first. So Ustazah Fathiah, I hope you are ready. Can I pass it over to you to start your presentation? Okay, Assalamualaikum Ustazah.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, everyone. I hope everyone can hear me. Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, Bismillah. I think we will start now. Let me just introduce myself again. Thank you, Kak Hatim, for introducing me. My name is Fathiah Abdul Samad. Like mentioned, I graduated from Al-Azhar in 2013, and I graduated in Arabic literature. But then I took Arabic calligraphy and later on then Islamic art on an independent basis. I've been teaching calligraphy and Islamic art since 2014, and now it has been 8 years. I started out as a full-time calligrapher and teach calligraphy and also Islamic art in Singapore. So I will be sharing with you some of the basic or some of the foundation laid in Islamic art so that you understand what Islamic art is all about and what Islamic art artists like me and some others shared in some of our views and what we hold on to. I'll be sharing a slide. Let me share my slide first. Now, a lot of people, when we talk about Islamic art, everyone will definitely relate it to Islamic or Arabic calligraphy. The truth is, Islamic art is more than just Arabic calligraphy. Of course, at the beginning of Islamic art, it started from Arabic calligraphy, or people may call it Islamic calligraphy. But then it turns out to be one form of science in Islam that is studied upon and that is looked upon and is very valuable in the Islamic civilization. So we will start with the origins. Okay. Is it the same slide? Is it the origins? On your, yeah, okay. All right, so the origins of Arabic calligraphy, as we all know, the first usage of all these Arabic letters are to write the Quran, to write the Mus'haf. But the first script used to write is a script called Nabatin. It is a very simple, a very basic script used by the Arabs to write, and it was not written in a fancy manner, or it was not written in a formal manner until Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu traveled to Kufa and to the city of Kufa, which is now a city in Iraq, and he was the first one to improvise the script into an art. In the hands of Sayyidina Ali and in the city of Kufa is where the first script of Arabic calligraphy was born. So the one you see in the slide is actually an example of the Kufi script. So the name Kufi comes from the city Kufa. So this is one of the latest Kufi. This is not the oldest Kufi. And then from this particular city, Islam spread to many more cities. And so the script developed into many, many different other scripts that we've seen today. So inspiration. So inspiration is about all of these scripts, how they are inspired to mold themselves into something that is very different from each other. So when Islam came to Kufa, the Kufic script was born. So Islam keeps spreading. So whenever they go to a particular country or a particular city, the people of the city or the people of that particular country will learn the art and develop it into something that is more suitable to their culture or to their lifestyle or to what they think is beautiful, in a particular manner that they appreciate. Okay, so the most popular scripts that we have right now is that there are 7 different scripts that is popular. Okay, the one that exists in this world, we have more than 300 types of scripts, including the Nusantara script, which is very popular before in the Nusantara area when Islam came to Nusantara. So every time Islam came to a country, the writing will change according to the people, according to the culture, and according to what the people in that particular country prefer to look at. Now, Arabesque and geometry. This is where I think a lot of people do not realize that these 2 elements are very important in Islamic art. So all this while when we talk about Islamic art, people will obviously relate it to Islamic art, to Arabic calligraphy. Arabic calligraphy is the first. It is the foundation of Islamic art. Without Arabic calligraphy, Islamic art will never be called Islamic art. It is the foundation. It is what we use to write the Quran, and the Quran is the foundation of Islam. So Arabesque and geometry came after to help nourish Arabic calligraphy in terms of its beauty. So as you can see here in this particular slide, let me just. Sorry, I'm trying to use the whiteboard here.
Are you
Okay,
looking
let's just
for
zoom.
introduction? Oh, okay.
It's okay, let's just zoom. All right, so as you can see here, there's Arabic letters in this part. Right, so in the Arabic letters, you can see some flower motifs. Okay, so these flower motifs are called arabesque. Okay, and it is there to justify the beauty of the space that they have besides the Arabic letters. And this part right here is called geometry. I think geometry is more familiar to us because we learn this in school. But the difference is Islamic geometry is closely related to designs rather than mathematics. So we will talk about Arabesque and geometry more later. Okay, this is an example of Islamic art being on buildings. Now, if the moment we talk about Islamic art, people will always relate it to Arabic calligraphy. And the moment we talk about Arabic calligraphy, people will relate it to either Quran writing or the composition you see in certain buildings, like in mosque, particularly mosque, and some other, like some other buildings or any other mediums. But buildings are actually one of the proofs that Islamic art lives for a very long time. apart from buildings, this is what it is most popular about Islamic art. When we talk about Islamic art, this is the first part of the Quran, the Mus'haf from the 19th century. The reason why we have seen less and less of this type of design in the first page of the Quran is because the emergence of softwares, the emergence of technology. So most people will definitely want to make things easier. So we use softwares to produce the Quran. And when we mass produce it, obviously there is no time or the need to produce this kind of art on the Mus'haf does not seem relevant. And that is the reason why we don't see all this in our own, personal Mus'haf. But this was the culture back then. So everyone who owns a copy of the Mus'haf, usually the first part of their Mus'haf will be adorned by both Arabesque and also geometry. So what you can see here, we can see Arabic calligraphy, and we can also see the Arabesque on the far left of the page, and also geometry in the middle of this page. Okay, and then it is even some of the letters, it is also adorned with ornaments inside. Okay, with Arabesque. This used to be the culture back then, but it has since subsided in our time. But one thing for sure, that it is coming back right now, that more and more people are learning this art. Alhamdulillah, it is one of, I would say, it's an important science in Islam that people need to know, especially the Muslims, and people need to appreciate. Because what happened right now is a lot of non-Muslims are learning this art. A lot of them are appreciating this art, and this art are not practiced enough by the Muslims. That is actually one of the reasons why I am practicing this art and teaching it to the people of our country. Because it doesn't happen just in Nusantara or in Singapore. It happens, I think, in many other places. Like even the Arabs, some of them practice it. Some of them, I'm not saying they're not practicing it, but because sometimes when things are so normal in your everyday life, you don't tend to think that it is something amazing. Okay, you just accept it as it is. But for the Westerners, where all this research and people who are practicing it lives, they do see the effort put in on all these arts, and that is the reason why they are putting a lot of effort to preserve it and to teach and learn it. Okay, we're still in the topic of Arabesque and geometry, and the reason why I have a lot of slides on Arabesque and geometry is because a lot of people do not know the importance of Arabesque and geometry. We usually adore the designs, but we have no idea how it is made, and we have no idea that, how important it is in the life of Muslim designers, or the life of the Quran itself. So in this particular slide, you can see an example of verses of the Quran, and the Arabesque and geometry is being applied as a header in between the surah. And this was how Quran was prepared during those times, during the time when Islamic art was greatly appreciated and produced by Islamic art artists. Okay, and then we proceed to styles. So, like I said, there are 7 popular scripts in Islamic art. So usually when people say I'm a calligrapher, they definitely are good in one of these 7 styles. Okay, but in this world there are more than 300 types which are not as popular as the 7 um, types. So the reason why these 7 are chosen is because they are being practiced by the Turkish. How do I put this? So Turkey is the place where Islamic art was developed, and it, I mean it's where calligraphers were born. Okay, they produce mass calligraphy, like they produce a lot of calligraphers, and they develop this particular art to to an extent where nobody can actually surpass the level that they put, the benchmark that they put for each style. And most masters came from Turkey. And that is the reason why, if any of you here have visited to Turkey before, then you will be amazed by the Arabic calligraphy around the mosque, around Hagia Sophia. Okay, and I think this is just a humanly, that not because you are a Muslim and you are amazed by all those designs. Okay, most of the designs are also have inspired a lot of non-Muslims, have inspired a lot of non-Muslims in how they see Islam, in how they see the life of a Muslim. You know, like full of beauty, and I think we are surrounded by beautiful things. You know, I will explain further on that. Next is the mediums that these arts were used on. Okay, um, we have been talking about mushaf, so obviously it's on papers. Obviously, Arabic calligraphy is written on papers. That is for sure. Arabesque and also geometry have been used on papers to adorn the Quran as well. And the next famous mediums for this art is definitely buildings. Okay, um, so each and every type of art here, regardless whether they are calligraphy or arabesque or geometry, they each have their own philosophy that the artists hold on to. And generally, for Islamic art artists, or especially for Arabic calligraphers, for Islamic calligraphers, so one of the verse that we hold on dearly to is the hadith, Inna Allah Jameel yuhibbul jamal. So Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty. We hold on to that verse dearly. So we believe that Islam is all about beauty. So if Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty, how can Islam not be beautiful? And one of the medium that Islam can be seen as as beautiful is obviously through art. So when I say Islamic art, it is not just visual art. So what we have here right now is visual art. So it's anything that we see, which is writing and coloring and designing and drawing. Another type of Islamic art is also the art of recitation. So when you listen to someone reciting, in a very beautiful voice, when they are reciting the Quran, sometimes you can be, they can shake you, they can affect you. Okay, that is another form of Islamic art. But of course, what I am good at right now is visual art, and it is the easiest to introduce. If you were to ask me to introduce to anyone who wanted to know about Islam to Islam, okay, it is the door to knowing Islam. Before you introduce them to the principles, to what is Iman, what is Islam, you need to show them how Islam accepts beauty and how Islam appreciates beauty, and it's through this art. Okay, So Islamic art is also like all these three elements is also known as Islamic fine art. So when we say fine art, it means we have a message beyond these arts. It's not just an art that we do because we have to do it, but we do it because we have a purpose. So all these designers back then, the one who designs buildings, the one who wrote on these buildings, the one who wrote, of course, when we talk about the Quran, whoever that writes the Quran or whoever that designs the Quran, obviously they do it for the sake of Allah, for the sake um, being part of this beautiful journey of adorning the Quran or of writing the Quran. But even when they are designing buildings, they practice the same purpose. They have the same purpose. So even until today, we do not know who are the designers behind all these buildings. So if you go to Turkey, you will see Hagia Sophia, and then we have the Blue Mosque. And then we have many other small mosques that have amazing designs. So when you go to Morocco, you will have you will see a lot of mosque or buildings that have amazing designs. And when you go to Egypt, when you go to Uzbekistan, when you go to Iran, when you go to all these places that has massive buildings, massive mosque with beautiful designs, you will never find the name of the designer. Why? Because every single one of them, they do it for the sake of being part um, of a bigger purpose, which is to let people into the buildings and feel the presence of Islam and Allah through the designs that they make. Let's say, for example, I think Turkey will be the most popular of all. Like if I say Hagia Sophia, everyone will definitely know where is Hagia Sophia and how Hagia Sophia look like. When Mimar Sinan, the architect of Hagia Sophia, when he instructed or when he lead the team of engineers and architects and designers to build the mosque, the designers insist that their name not to be mentioned in as part of the buildings. Okay? Why? Because they do not want people to know. They do not want the fame. They do it because, like I said, they have that particular purpose, and the purpose is always for Allah. But because they do not have their name on, we do not know their stories until now. Okay, and so it is something that I think Islamic art artists, most of us, wish to practice, which is to spread is our priority, but not to be known to people. But in the time that we are living in right now, where everyone wanted a name for themselves, it is not easy to eliminate your name and just put your design up forth or up front. You definitely have to leave your name lah. Okay, so this is the reality of the world that we live in right now. But I'm talking about how sincere they are in their designs, and that makes you as a visitor, when you visit all these buildings or when you read or when you see all these designs on probably a mushaf, apart from being amazed by the designs or by the writings, you will feel another sensation that cannot be explained unless you are there. Okay, so for example, if you have visited maybe Uzbekistan before, or let's just use Turkey as another example. If you have entered Hagia Sophia before, you will feel different, even though it's empty. Okay, even though it's empty, because the design speaks. Okay? The design was put meaning into. Like for example, this one right here. This one, let me just choose another. Let me just explain briefly. For example, this one right here. This particular star in the middle. this particular star is called the eight-pointed star. So this eight-pointed star, it has different names. And it is also called Khatam Rasul. It is also called Khatam Rasul. It is generally called as Khatam, and you will see this everywhere. This is like the ambassador of Islamic geometry design. Okay, like whenever you see eight-pointed star, usually it will be related to Islam. Okay, but when you go to certain mosques, when you go to a lot of mosques, actually, you will find instead of the eight-pointed star, you will actually find five-pointed stars a lot and six-pointed star. Because five-pointed stars, when they design any geometric patterns on a building, especially, or on any other mediums, five-pointed stars, especially on mosques, five-pointed stars represents the five pillars of Islam. And six-pointed stars represent the six pillars of Iman. Okay? So when they design that particular pattern on a particular spot, that the reason is because when someone comes in, for example, a mosque, when someone comes in and look at the design that they have designed, you will be reminded about those elements, the five pillars, the six pillars. We may not understand it now because I'm not saying we do not have knowledge of, maybe lack of knowledge lah. Okay, but the people back then, a lot of them knew about it, especially during the golden ages of Islam. A lot of people know what all these designs mean. Like they have the foundation. They know what it is all about. So designing has more meaning back then, comparing it to today. So yeah, I'm just saying, like, usually if you go to a mosque right now, like a mosque in our country right now, first we do not understand the designs, of course. And yes, of course, we come to the mosque to pray. And I mean, it's good to focus only on the prayer mat and not somewhere else. But it feels hollow. It is not as the sensation that you get from the old mosque that I've mentioned before is not present here. Okay, I'm not degrading the designers of the mosque, but we all know how the modern mosque was built. It was built based on commission, right? You pay for the person to design, and the person come up with the design and get paid, and then that's it. Meet the deadline, and yeah, that's it. You don't even know where they get their designs from. So it is different back then. So every single art, every single beautiful pieces comes with a purpose and also a meaning. Okay.
Ustazah, just going back to the Khatam Rasul just now, could you explain why the eight-pointed star is considered the Khatam?
Oh, okay. So it has different names, but generally it is called Khatam. Khatam means seal. So the reason why it is called Khatam Rasul is because the seal of the Prophet is in this form. Is in eight-pointed star. It is also called Khatam Sulaimaniyah in some countries. It is called Khatam Sulaimaniyah because, okay, this is a bit mystical because it was found that one of the book of sorcery that they found earlier on has this kind of I don't know, like some words that teach you how to deal with the other world, and it comes in this form, like it's written in the eight-pointed stars. So it is called Khatam Sulaimaniyah. Okay, but if you go to Medina and if you go to Masjid Nabawi, you will find this design everywhere, like eight-pointed stars everywhere. Okay, but like I mean, as a practitioner of Islamic geometry, we call it Khatam. we don't really call it Khatam Rasul or Khatam Sulaiman. We just call it Khatam, and we know immediately that this is the star that we want, and this is the basic star that if you are interested in Islamic art or Islamic geometry pattern, this is something that you need to learn by heart. Like, you need to know how to draw this like anytime, any day. It is something that you practice all the time. Okay, because it is the base of a lot of other designs. So from this particular design, you will produce a lot of other designs. Okay, this is the simplest actually. So usually in the Quran, they will use simple designs. But when you apply it on other mediums, such as buildings, because of the space and because of, you know, the massive blocks of material that they have, it is possible to explore and to make it more complex. So now the mediums. So apart from papers and buildings, so of course buildings, when we talk about buildings, it's on different mediums. It can be on granite, it can be on bricks, you know, it can be on anything. It can also be, one of the popular mediums is pottery. Okay, so they use potteries back then on a lot of occasions. So this is one of the mediums that has a lot of designs on. Next, calligraphy on buildings. So previously we were talking about about geometry and Arabesque on buildings. So this is calligraphy on buildings. You don't really see a lot of calligraphy on buildings. Like right now, if you go to certain countries, they still have it, but not as much. These are some of the buildings that is found in Samarkand, Uzbekistan, and also Iran. Okay. If you look at the colors, you can see like different colors being used. Okay. The reason for all these colors is largely depending on the country itself, the resources they have to the colors, and also the preference that the people have on a particular color. First and foremost, let me just clarify that when we say Islamic art, we are not talking about Arabic art. Okay. The thing with, this happens a lot of times. When we say Islamic, we will always relate it to the Arab. Arabic calligraphy started from the Arab world, but Islamic art as a whole does not start from the Arab world. So Arabesque and geometry, for example, were born in mostly African countries, or like I think some other neighboring countries, but not the land of Hijaz, not the Arab countries, not at all. The reason being is because the Arab countries, they do not have resources to all these colors first, and they do not have the knowledge of designing. Okay, they have simple houses. You don't really see colors on their houses. It's plain life for the Arabs. So when Islam spread to many other countries, that's when people of different cultures gathered their knowledge and gathered their thoughts and gathered their crafters and the crafts that they are good in, and mixed it with Islamic art or with Arabic calligraphy. That is the reason I think why it is very beautiful, because it shows how Islam lays the basic of a design, and then it welcomes anyone, or like any tribe or any group of people to come and be part of it. Okay, and that is how a beautiful art is produced. Like how you see here, the city of Samarkand and the city of Iran, they do not speak the Arabic language at all, kan? But they can produce something as amazing as this, as beautiful as this, to be later on recognized as Islamic art, as part of Islam. Okay? And this is my thought on Islamic art as in general. That a lot of people, when we talk about Islam, people will definitely say, say whatever they thought about Islam as to what they get on the internet, but nobody will say will talk about the beauty of Islam. Nobody will mention how Islam appreciates designers. Nobody will mention how Islam have been helping, have been building infrastructures of beauty for hundreds of years. Islam has always encourages beauty. Islam has always encourages people to create something beautiful. Islam has always supported anyone who believes in creating beautiful things in the name of the religion. And it is part of, I think, a humanly nature to produce something beautiful. And from what you see here, I think for some people these are just designs, but I think it represents Islam as a whole. It represents Islam as a whole, like how building all these structures, gathering people of different mastery to work on a bigger purpose, to work on one particular purpose, to build something magnificent, to adorn it. Like the process makes the process shows how beautiful Islam is. I mean, that's what I believed in. If Islam were perceived as what the media perceived, all these buildings would not be here until now, and all these buildings will not be built, and all the amazing mushafs and all the beautiful mushafs will not be written and will not be designed. All the beautiful artifacts or potteries will not be produced. So we all have different ways of practicing Islam. I'm not saying like practicing like the foundation, no, but this is how, if you ask me, that if someone wanted to know what Islam is about, then it is important to let them see first what it is, then you bring them to a more complex ideas of Islam. Okay? Because I think in this world we live in, to see, people believe that to see is to believe. Okay, to see is to believe. So all these beautiful buildings and all these beautiful producers are proofs that this particular religion is into beauty, and it came from a beautiful source. Okay, last but not least, the most important part is the tools. As much as, I've been talking about geometry and Arabesque, the reason is because not many people talk about it. You will find a lot of people talking about Arabic calligraphy, but not many people talking about designs. So that's why I explain more on designs. But of course, all these designs will not be special. It will not represent Islam unless it is paired with Arabic calligraphy or Islamic calligraphy, or verses from the Quran or verses from the Hadith. It must be paired with a verse, or with any beautiful Arabic word. So the first important thing is definitely the tools. I am going to show you how the tools is being used in a very short clip of a calligrapher from UK. Let me show you the video. Can you hear the sound?
Training to become a calligrapher is a long and difficult process. It is said that a calligrapher needs 5 things: a good temperament, an understanding of calligraphy, good hands, endurance of pain, and the necessary tools. But even with all the right tools, real progress in the art comes from studying and watching a Hoja or a master at work. The link between student and master is very important, and Istanbul has remained the centre of calligraphy largely because of the master apprenticeship system. The struggle to attain almost perfection in the art never ends. Calligraphers who lived into the 90s are known to have lamented about not having enough time to master the art.
Okay, so the practice of Arabic calligraphy has always been said to be the most significant process of a Muslim artist. Why? It um, because you need to have a few. I'm not saying beautiful. A few good characters. It will build you into having these characters, and one of the thing is definitely patience. One of the things that we strive for when we write all these letters is perfection. But of course, no one's perfect and nothing can be perfected uh, because perfection is only for Allah. But that's what we strive for, perfection, as perfect as we can. Because writing the Quran is not, it's a serious matter. We write the words of Allah. We write the words of God, and of course we do not want to write in our we do not want to write in our weak um, writings. We wanted it to be really good. That is the reason why it is also not easy to become a calligrapher, and not many people have the patience to do it. Like, for example, of my 8 years teaching calligraphy, whenever you open up a class, you can have 10 to 15 students, but at the end of the day, the one that will stay will probably be half or less than half of the class. The reason is patience. You need a lot of patience. And I think patience is one thing that Islam is all about. You know, even the Prophet ﷺ, he is the ambassador of patience. He is the most patient human, right? And it is not easy for everyone to achieve that. And most of the people who survived the process of being a calligrapher, I would say the most patient people, because it is not an easy journey, but it is also not impossible to be one. But of course, in my 8 years of teaching, we have actually improvised the method of teaching to be more suitable to the life of Singaporeans, especially to our busy lives. We may not be the most perfect writer. We may not be as we may not be on par with those in Turkey, but as you know, as long as we do it as perfect as we can, to what we are capable of, that is good enough to write the words of Allah. And also the reason why, like Soraya mentioned, the apprenticeship system. So this apprenticeship system is a system, it's just like if some of you join Talaki Quran, it is when you know the chain of teachers that you have. That is the exact same method. We know the chain of teachers that we have. So for people who learn recitation of the Quran using a sanad system, your recitation will reach, the sanad will reach Rasulullah alaihi salatu wasalam. But for us writers, our sanad, our chain of teachers will reach all the way to Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu, because he was the first one who started this system. He was the first one who started the art of writing in this manner. Okay, so like for example, me myself, I have an ijazat in, in a few scripts. So I am the student of, for example, my teacher. My teacher is the student of. We have that sanad in our certificate, like the name of all teachers. Okay, all the way up to Sayyidina Ali radiallahu anhu. That is how much we took care of the chains. We have to make sure that whoever survived this journey are people who can be trusted, or people who have shown all their efforts to a person who have gone through the same process. Okay, but that does not mean that if you do not have an ijazat, you are not allowed to be an Islamic art artist. That is not what it is. This is just a certification process. If you have a certificate, you can pass down the chains to other people. But if you do not have, you can still practice it. You just do not pass down the chains to other people. Okay, it is perfectly fine. Islam is not that strict. It is a man-made system, so it is not perfect, but it is a system that has seen the birth of many calligraphers and many writers, and their works have been shown to the world, and their works have moved a lot of hearts to believe in Islam. And I myself, I have students. This is what amazes me actually, like how beautiful this art is, that it is not specially made for just Muslims. I have students who are non-Muslims, but they are very interested in this art. Okay, I have students, I have Japanese students, I have Chinese students, I have Indian students. They are not Muslims. They will usually freely share with us their beliefs, but they are some of the most dedicated students I've seen. They learn how to read the Quran because they need to write it in order to learn the script. Because usually when we finish a course, our final work will definitely be a verse from the Quran, and for all these for non-Muslims, they are not supposed to write the verses of the Quran, but they are allowed to if they understand the verses very well. So imagine, like, all my students who are non-Muslims, we bought for them the translations, like the Quran with translations, and whenever they need to write something, they have to put in more effort than the Muslims. They have to search for the meaning. They have to understand the verses that they write before they write, because that is a requirement for non-Muslims to write the Quran. And but they wanted to do it because they just fell in love with all these designs. They feel like this is, these are beautiful designs that we wanted to be good in. And some of them are professionals, of course, and some of them are they started to fall in love with all these designs when they visited some of the countries that I mentioned before. Like they visited Turkey, they visited Morocco, and they've seen all these designs on the buildings and wondered how these are made. So like I said, Islamic art is one of the most important signs in Islam to be an outreach agent to people outside that do not know this art, to know Islam or to learn about Islam through this door, through the beauty of the visual arts, through the beauty of the the recitations, through So recitation of the Quran is considered like the music of Islam. So, touching other people's heart does not only mean you have to preach with words. You can also preach with colors. You can also preach with drawings. You can also preach with designs. Yeah. So that is my take on Islamic art. That is some of what I can share today. So if you have any questions for me, please do ask away.
MashaAllah, Ustazah. I think even though I thought I knew some things about Islamic art, but whatever that you've shared today is mind-blowing to me, especially with regards to Sayyidina Ali. I did not know that it started with Sayyidina Ali, and when the sanad goes back in chain, it goes to him as well. So I was just reading about Sayyidina Ali a couple of weeks ago about how he is busy with Khalifa duties, how he is busy with his own da'wah efforts, and then he also is busy with calligraphy as well. So I'm like, what? Wow.
Yeah. Yep. He was the Babul Ain, like, the door of knowledge, like what the Prophet has mentioned before. So, yeah.
Okay, I do have some questions from participants who has sent in through through the form, but there is one lady who has sent in a query through the chat. I don't know whether she has sent to you. I think a lot of people are excited. I think it's something new to all of us. So she asked, Assalamualaikum, do you have any books to recommend about Islamic art and its history and evolution? Buku.
Yes, I do. Maybe I can list down some. So there's a lot actually. Even if you go to library, you can find a lot. There's a lot. The thing with if you want specifically what you ask for, it will be very lengthy. The book will be very wordy. I would not recommend that. You can start with books with a lot of pictures. For you to understand more. Look at the pictures first and then find some of the explanations. Once you have seen enough pictures, then you can move to the books that is more wordy.
Is there any particular?
I'll give you. I think I can give some one example of a good book that has good information, good size of information would be the Splendour of Islamic Calligraphy. You can find it in I think I bought it in Kuala Lumpur. Let me check. The Splendour of Islamic Calligraphy.
Lots and lots of pictures of beautiful calligraphy, I'm sure.
Yeah. So you can actually buy the book online. It's in Islamic Art Museum, Malaysia. It's from Islamic Art Museum, Malaysia. Okay, it's in Kuala Lumpur. So if you go to that particular museum, it is a very, very, very beautiful museum. And with very beautiful exhibition. If you go there, please get yourself the Splendour of Islamic Calligraphy, and you can find a lot of books there. And there are also books in Wardah bookstores, but that one is the wordy part of the book. I would not recommend. I mean, as much as it is good and it is important, I would say those books are for me and not for beginners.
This is for those who want to know the philosophy behind the art, things like that, and not really the.
I mean, it's wordy, so it might not interest you.
Okay, fair enough. So I just took down the title of Splendour of Islamic Calligraphy, and I think I would like to get one for myself. So thank you so much for the recommendation. Okay, we do have a couple more questions. I hope for the lady who asked the questions just now, I hope that it's a good it's something that you can look out for. The Splendour of Islamic Calligraphy that can be found in Islamic Art Museum in Malaysia, and if you're lucky to find it online, you can order that as well.
Mm.
Yeah. Okay. So one question here: when is the earliest age to introduce Islamic calligraphy?
So calligraphy in particular, like I said just now, there's tools, right?
Mhm.
So there's tools. So we use reed pens to write. So these reed pens is actually a bit dangerous to very young writers. You can start with a slanted. You can start anytime actually, 7 years old, 8 years old. It doesn't matter. But the tools is important according to the age. So if it's like really young, you can start them using markers, slanted markers that looks like the reed pen. But the ideal age to start is 10. I mean, in Singapore, you know how like different countries have different age when children matured
Mhm.
and how they handle tools. So I think in Singapore, my youngest was my youngest was 8. I mean, but the mother is beside them. So independently, I would say 10 because they understand what is required. They when we explain the importance of like taking care of your tools and all, they understand it well.
So if I could summarize that, maybe 7 to 8 years old if there's a parent with them.
Yes. Yes.
And 10 years old for the child to learn this independently. And
Yeah.
you're talking about using the reed pen, yeah?
The traditional tools.
Could I ask why do you say that it might not be suitable for smaller children? Is it because it's too sharp and he or she could poke himself and hurt himself?
Yes, because it's too sharp. I mean, even us, it can hurt us actually if we don't handle it properly. So the thing with children is they like to play with the tools, so it might hurt them. So we do not want like those things to happen during the class.
I see. So this is to proper official Islamic.
Invigilate, yes.
But beyond that, like for example, if we want to introduce Arabic letters to begin with, then it's just normal slanted markers should be all right, right?
Yep. I mean, if you want to introduce letters, normal letters, you can just use any pens, like at any age. But when you talk about Arabic calligraphy, it is using that slanted pen to get that thickness and the thickness and thinness of the letters or the strokes. So it needs you need someone who can follow the explanation of how the strokes begin, how you stop. And I think at an age, I mean 7 to 8 or 7 to 10 is actually an age where they don't understand how important it is for you to make sure that it is what it is. This is how it works. This is how it should look like. We have other methods to introduce them to all these strokes, but not using the reed pen.
Let's see. Talking about starting Islamic calligraphy, could I ask at what age did you start Islamic calligraphy? How did you end up being a calligrapher to begin with?
I started young. I started at 15.
Oh.
I did not have a good handwriting before. I remember my parents was always called in by teachers. They would tell my mother that my handwriting was not that good. So I started out I started to look out for books that has nice handwritings. I started to follow and copy. So that's when it all started. So at 15, I was sent to Islamic Art Museum, Malaysia, the International Islamic Art Museum in Malaysia. on their opening year, they actually have an intensive course of 1 week. You have to stay there for, like, I think from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. every single day to complete the Arabic calligraphy courses. And that was the first. And then it continues until now. So from hobby, actually it's a hobby. I would say it's a hobby. It became something you're serious in.
Could I ask, when you mentioned that you were in Azhar, you were doing Arabic literature, was it just like because of your hobby, you tried to find something to do over there that has something to do with calligraphy?
Not really. Before I went to Al-Azhar, I was actually contemplating whether to continue my Islamic art journey in Kuala Lumpur, in Shah Alam, or to continue in Al-Azhar. So my teachers in Malaysia were all graduates of Islamic art in Cairo, in Egypt. So they learned the art in Egypt. So that's where they started their journey. So they told me, like, it's better if I can go to Al-Azhar and at the same time learn the art from the school that they graduated from. So I took Al-Azhar in the morning, and in the evening I would go to the school.
Oh, so you're saying that you're doing double duty lah. In the morning,
Yes.
And in the evening would be your sanat or something like that. Would that be something?
It's just a school. It's a school under the Ministry of Education in Egypt.
Oh.
They give out certificates. It's a diploma. It's a diploma and a degree in Islamic art.
What is the school name? Nak tahu juga.
They have a few schools. So the one I took part in was called Khalil Agha in Cairo. But they have, like, different cities have different schools for it. So it's under their Ministry of Education. But I was not there for long. It was only for 2 years. It was not a sanat system. It's a certificate system given by the ministry. So it's a diploma and degree course. I think it's a 4 years diploma course and 2 years degree course. But then I stopped halfway. I took a sanat with Sheikh Bal'is, my first, I would say my first sanat. He was the royal calligrapher of Morocco. So he left the palace in Morocco and traveled to a few other countries to teach. So I met him there, and I learned from another national calligrapher of Egypt to get another sanat. And so the sanat journey begins.
Could I ask, are there a lot of Islamic calligraphers in Singapore? Are they all started by you? Like, what's the community?
The community was not that big, but it is okay now. When I first came back, I think there are a few, like 2-3 of us. No, I think a bit more, maybe 4 or 5, I'm not sure. But now we have quite a good number of community. I have quite a lot of students right now who can even teach others, who can teach maybe probably beginners who have gotten their sanat as well. It's been a journey, but like, we started from zero. It will be a very long journey to see Islamic art in Singapore prosper. But from the invitations that I get from all these, from museums, from Asian Civilization museums, to do Arabesque workshop, Arabic calligraphy workshop, from Esplanade and all, I've seen the increase in interest in the people here, regardless whether they are Malays or not, whether they are Muslims or not. So I think the future is going to be good for Islamic art here in Singapore.
The future is very bright, I hope, inshallah.
Very, very, yeah, inshallah.
Well, what are your hopes? Like, at the end of the day, like, on your deathbed, you were thinking, like, Alhamdulillah, we have, like, a school here for Islamic art, or for all students to.
Of course, I mean, a school here in Islamic art is, of course, always it has always been a dream. But we all know that we live in a country where if you relate something with Islam, it might not. I'm not saying it will not prosper. I'm saying it will. It might be longer. The journey might be longer. So I am trying to tap on a lot of institutions to make sure at least within our Islamic community, this is something that they will hear often, and a lot more people will be going to practice it, so that more appreciation will come in. I think awareness is important. Like our community themselves, not only our community actually, even the other races. When you talk about art is not something that you want to be part of.
It's Singapore.
It's art in Singapore. Yeah, I mean, you don't have a future with art. But when we talk about Islamic art, it's really not about you having a future or you having a career with it. It's more like your identity as a Muslim. You need to know some of these arts very well. I think my motivation would be if the non-Muslims are practicing it until they are really good in it, what is stopping us to be good in our own art? Like the art that they are really good in the philosophy of this art. They know how it is related to God. They know how the Kaaba inspired some of the basic designs in Islamic art, and we don't even know anything about it. So I think that's my motivation, to let people know as much as possible how important it is, how special it is, and how much Islam appreciate art, and how Islam embraces art and also the artist.
Thank you so much for that. I think a question related to whatever that we were discussing. One of our participants asked me through text, Assalamualaikum Ustazah, will the course be costly since it is very new in this country? So I think maybe you can talk about what you teach. Is it costly? Like, how does a beginner calligrapher even begin to start in Singapore at least?
The cost is actually like what other art courses would cost. Our normal rates are like $80 per month. It will take some, like for beginner course, it will take like 3 to 4 months. Some scripts will take even shorter months. Some scripts are easier. So it will take, like, for example, the beginners 2 months, the intermediate levels will be 2 months, and even the advanced level will be 2 months. But some scripts took longer, like 4, probably 4. And the prices, of course, differs, but the range is like $80 to $120 per month. I think that's the range of prices lah. But there's always institutions that will give good prices or even free classes. So if you have difficulties, financial difficulties, you can always join the classes that these organizations put up. Like, for example, Darul Arqam has always given a really, really good price to those who participate in their Quranic Arabic classes, Quranic Arabic writing classes. It's Arabic penmanship, but we are actually learning how to write Arabic letters according to what the Quran has been written in. The strokes are exactly the same as what the Quran, the script that we use in the Quran are written with. So that is called, if you see a course with the name Arabic penmanship, it is that course. Okay, we will learn at the end of 8 weeks, we will actually learn how to write the Quran. But of course, not using the reed pen. We will be using a simpler tool,
like a marker.
Like a pen or pencil.
Okay. So I think,
and I think I would just one misconception about Arabic calligraphy, especially. A lot of people relate Arabic calligraphy with talent. It has got nothing to do with talent, actually. It is all hard work. A lot of people do not have talent, but they are able to become good calligraphers. They are able to get their sanat. It is hard work. Okay, this is not this is not painting. This is not painting. This is like writing the Quran. So writing the Quran is for everyone. The Quran does not choose, like, a certain people with certain gifts that Allah has given them. And only these people can write the Quran. Everyone can write the Quran beautifully. Everyone can reach that particular level of writing, the Quran with the best version of their handwriting. You just need to give a lot of yourself, a lot of your time, so that you can be good in it. It has got nothing to do with talent, but of course talented people will progress faster if they put the same amount of effort as to the people who are less talented. But talents will not bring you anywhere if you do not put the effort in. So writing the Quran is for everyone. Everyone can be part of it. Everyone can learn how to write it, and everyone can produce beautiful Quranic handwritings.
Thank you so much for that. So it's a very technical art lah, in a sense, right?
Yes, correct.
And even if you do not have the means to learn Islamic calligraphy, there are other places in Singapore which provides it at a very cost-effective rate, such as Darul Arkam. So besides Darul Arkam and your own studio, are there any other places that you can learn Islamic calligraphy from in Singapore?
In Singapore, I am not sure. You can probably learn it online somewhere. I'm really not sure. There are not many places that provide these classes, actually. So I am so sorry. I really do not know. But if you want to know more on our programs, you might want to follow us on Instagram. It's Islamic Art SG. You don't have to follow my personal page. Yeah, you can just follow Islamic Art SG. Yeah, Al-Bustan offers the same program as well. So Al-Bustan, Markas Al-Bustan, Bustan Khat, they offer calligraphy programs.
So
they really focus on calligraphy. So if you are into calligraphy and not the other Islamic art elements, then you can, if you live in East area, you can proceed to Al-Bustan.
Okay.
In Kembangan, yeah.
Okay, that is a lot of information. I think people will benefit from this. Okay, moving on to the next question that we have. Can we make money out of it if is it permissible? Islamic art, I would assume. Can we make money out of Islamic art?
Why not? I mean, what is the concern?
I think perhaps I'm just assuming like for example, people might think ajar gaji.
Understand.
Would you?
As much as it is easy to compare writing Arabic letters to belajar mengaji, it is not the foundation of learning Islam. So belajar mengaji and writing it is a different thing, but it is a form of art. So of course it can be made. Yeah, I mean, you can be paid for it. Yeah.
Okay. So I mean, if
it looks like it's related, but it's not.
Okay. So yes, so it is a skill, right? And people are asking you for your time to create something. So of course it would be only right for you to be paid for it lah. If that's
correct.
That's what
if that answers.
Yes, kesian Ustazah kalau tak ada cannot money make out of it.
Yeah, but the thing is, we don't just teach, we also design. So I think one of our works, the work that I do with my team is actually Masjid. One of the mosques that we work on is Masjid Wufran. So we design the writings on the facade of the mosque and also the mimbar. We also help in designing the geometric designs. We help to choose the right designs for the mosque. Reason being is because geometric patterns, the Islamic geometric patterns, it is especially on buildings. It has like macam mana? If you do not give the right design, or if you design it anyhow, it will affect the structure of the building. So you need to get the designs correct, the correct design. So if you just copy paste from some Google images, it might not, if it's not the right one, if you tessellate or if you repeat the designs and it doesn't tessellate it
Doesn't join
correctly,
hands, right?
it doesn't join correctly, so it will impose problems on the contractors.
I see.
So it's like I said, it's a long journey. Actually, this is my when I was first assigned to help them with choosing the right Islamic geometric patterns. That was when I understand that contractors are having a hard time trying to make sure the panels are strong because the designs does not fit in perfectly. So the moment we choose the right design, so it was resolved. So contractors does not have to use like extra poles to make it stronger, and so the light reflections of light to the building is it doesn't affect that one as well. The ventilation of the buildings is gets better. It has relations. It's a very deep topic. Actually, it's a very big topic to discuss, especially when it concerns buildings, Islamic designs, especially geometry, when it concerns buildings.
Do you have a favorite mosque?
In Singapore?
Yeah, that showcases Islamic art. I mean, besides Gufran lah, because you're the one who designed it, right? The Islamic art.
I'm not sure. I've not been to like a lot of mosques. I've been to a lot of mosques, but not in Singapore lah. So my favorites would definitely be mosques from outside of Singapore.
Is there
inside? I think I don't know. No, I think Gufran is my favorite. No, Gufran is my favorite. The thing is because you are someone who learn all this. There will be buildings or the decorations kan yang cantik di mata. You pandang and sedap pandangan mata tu macam sedap nak pandang. But some other mosques, I understand that the designs were built because they just wanted some Islamic design, something that looks like Islamic design, so they just put it out. It is okay for the public, but it is not okay for our eyes because we have trained eyes. So we become very sensitive towards all these decorations. So when it doesn't fit, it becomes, dia just ganggu jiwa kita. We do it like every day.
It doesn't tessellate.
Yeah, we do it, especially when the tessellation is wrong, but it looks fine to the public because it looks like something Islamic. You something you find in the mosques from other Islamic countries. So like for everyone else, it's fine. It looks good, but for us, it's like like mathematically, it's wrong. And if you put your design eyes, of course it's worse lah. But so we don't really look into it a lot. We come and pray and leave.
That's the best course of action.
Yes.
Okay, sure. Okay, moving on to the next question. Okay, what is the hukum for drawing people and animals in Islamic art? I think some people might be wondering about this. So this might be a final question before we close the session for today, or tonight rather.
You mean like writing letters in the form of animals and also human figures kan? I know a lot of people are doing it, but those who practice Arabic calligraphy with a sanad, we are not allowed to do it. We're not allowed to do it because we are trained to write the Quran, so our focus are always the Quran. It is I am not sure if there is a haram hukum on it, but it is something that we are not recommended to do. But if you do it, then you do it. Like we don't judge the person doing it. But as writers who are trained traditionally, I am considered a traditional writer. We came out from a traditional teaching, so we are not recommended to do it. I don't see any. I have not seen any of us doing it or any of our teachers doing it. None of us do it. Like we try to make it beautiful as it is, and we use Arabesque and also geometry. We pair it up with another a few other elements to make it beautiful, but not in the form of human form or animal form.
I see. So to summarize that, it means that for Sanat, you stick to the traditional way of doing the calligraphy lah, and those who that might not necessarily be Sanat trained. That's what you. Okay. I think it has been an enlightening session for me, and I'm sure for all of you here as well. Thank you so much, Ustazah Fathiah. We look forward to having to seeing you in the public more in advocacy for Islamic art. Thank you so much for all your work, advocating this and sharing this to the public and I guess to the international world as well. We wish you the best of luck of your journey, and we're always here.
Thank you so much.
So I am for those of you who might be interested to see Ustazah Fathiah's work and her teaching and her calligraphy classes, do try to find Islamic Art SG on Instagram. Is that right?
Yes.
Try to find your way. And I think the best thing is sometimes it's not just calligraphy. I attended a few sessions of Ustazah's classes before. We did woodworking, calligraphy and woodworking. That was a very noisy class. And
we have embroidery as well.
Yes, embroidery. And also Arabesque painting and drawing. That was very fun. So I do invite all of you, bring your children as well, but not for the calligraphy with the read with children, and find something new to introduce our children the beauty of Islam in visual art form, inshallah. So thank you again for being here, Ustazah, and all of you here sitting with us. We do appeal for donations for Perdaus to create more da'wah activities and events and programs just like this one. So you can scan this QR code for Pay Now donations, or even just go to our website to donate online. And lastly, so would you like to close the session with Surah Al-Azhar and Tasbih Kafara, Ustazah? I can hand it over to you.
Thank you everyone for participating in tonight's event. I think let's end the session with Tasbih Kafara and Surah Al-Azhar. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Innal insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa 'amilus solihati wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr.
Thank you so much, everyone. The monthly date with Perdaus will be having a break for the month of December. Inshallah, in January onwards, we have exciting new programs for you, and some of them will also be sponsored by Mendaki to include more family-friendly programs for our monthly date with Perdaus. So just do sign up with us, and we'll keep in contact and inform you of all new updates on our newer sessions online, inshallah. So thank you so much, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.